In this video, we take a look at the campground at St. Croix State Park in Hinckley, Minnesota. Check it out. Hey guys, I'm Kevin with Kemp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a campground review of the campground at St. Croix State Park in Hinckley, Minnesota. It's the largest state park in the Minnesota State Park system. Let's get right into this review. St. Croix State Park is located in Hinckley, Minnesota, and it's about halfway between Minneapolis-St. Paul and Duluth. It's easily accessed by St. Cloud or Brainerd, Minnesota, or Eau Claire or Wausau, Wisconsin. St. Croix State Park is the largest state park in the Minnesota State Park system, with tons of hiking trails and beautiful access to the St. Croix River. The campground is located in the eastern end of the park, and it's indicated by the red arrow on the map. We're going to take a detailed look at the campground with this map. As you can see, there are three campground sections: the Old Logging Trail Campground, the Paint Rock Springs Campground, and the Riverview Campground, all with access to the St. Croix River. Let's take a look at the canoe launch. The location of the canoe launch is indicated by the red arrow and is easily accessible if you continue to go east past the Riverview Campground. Here's the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway, the main canoe landing. They have sturgeon in the river. Lots of canoes for rent and a nice canoe launch. While we were camping here, my family did do a float down the St. Croix River several times and had a great time. What a beautiful river to spend some time on. Let's take a look at the St. Croix Lodge. The St. Croix Lodge and Visitor Center is indicated by the red arrow, and it's right at the entrance to the campground. Very easy to access, and there's good parking. Here's a look at the building from the outside. It's quite large. And when we walk inside, the first area you see is a nice stone room with picnic tables and bench seating. I imagine this is a great place to get warm after some snowshoeing or cross-country skiing. And then this lodge also has a visitor center with some educational displays and even some tanks with some live animals. This is a perfect place for kids to learn about the nature around them and an awesome place to visit. Let's take a look at the camp store. The camp store is centrally located between the different campground sections, and it has a loop area with plenty of parking or easily accessible by trail. Here's a look at the campground store from the outside. Unfortunately, it was closed when I was there, so I couldn't film inside. Let's take a look at one of the restroom facilities. There are three main restroom facilities in this campground, one for each campground section, and these restrooms have running water, hot showers, and flush toilets. We're going to take a look at the one in the Paint Rock Springs campground area. This is the one that was nearest to us. As you can see, they had some nice sinks on the outside of the building for dishwashing, and the building was quite large, plenty of room for showers and toilet stalls and that kind of thing. We're going to walk into the men's restroom here. I don't ever go into the women's restroom. Sorry, ladies, I don't want to get screamed at, so I guess you're on your own. But as you can see, as we walk in here, you can see that this bathroom has plenty of sinks for washing hands, brushing teeth, all that stuff, mirrors. It's got some urinals, and then some toilet stalls. There's a handicapped toilet stall there, and then here is a handicapped toilet stall. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the shower restroom area. So this one is for handicapped. So there you can see a commode, a sink and mirror, and a large shower area with bench seating and adjustable height shower head. Really, really nice. Uh, excellent for people with mobility issues. And then We're going to just take a look at this one as well. As you can see, this one has adjustable height shower head, bench seating, a little bit smaller. This is just a shower, not a restroom. And we'll take a look at one more. This is just a shower with a bench and then a shower head. Just a simple shower. And that's a look at the restrooms in this park. Let's take a drive-in tour. All right, so for this drive-in tour, we're going to enter into the main campground road, and then we're going to wind through Riverview Campground following the path with the red arrows. So this is the entrance into the campground. Off to the left there is the dump station, if you can see that. We're going to take a look at that towards the end of the driving tour. This check-in station was not occupied any of the time we were there. I don't know when they use that or if they use that currently. Straight ahead is the Lodge and Visitor Center. We're going to hang a left so we can head over to the Riverview Campground. You can see around the lodge there's plenty of picnic tables and fields, places to hang out, throw a frisbee, a football. All right, we're going to hang a left here into this first loop, and this takes us from Site 1 all the way to, I believe, Site 33, right? And they're on these little signs as we drive by. I'm going to try and attempt to call them out. There's a water spigot for water. I think that's Site 5 on the right there, Site 6 on the left. Site 10 on the left. So you can see these sites are kind of wide open. There's not a lot of vegetation or block sight lines. You're going to see your neighbors and they're going to see you. The roads are gravel. Through the magic of YouTube, we don't have to wait for that guy to back in. These roads are one-way loops, so keep that in mind. Traffic only flows in one direction, but you do need to watch out for kids on bicycles. I think that last site there where that truck is parked is 21. And I believe all of the sites in this campground, in Riverview Campground, in this loop are electric sites. You can see the electric boxes there. There's another spigot for water. I think that was Site 22. But mostly open, this section of the campground, which is great if you have an RV or a travel trailer with solar panels. You're going to get pretty good light penetration on your solar panels. Not every section of the campground has good access to the sky, so keep that in mind. If you want some more wooded areas, there are places in this campground where you can find that. And this last site to the left there, I think, is 32. There's a dumpster for trash. All right, we're going to head left here on the main road. And we're going to do the second loop, which is Site 34 to 54. Passing 37 on the left there, 38 on the right. And as you can see, if you've got a big rig there, it might be a tight fit for you. There's the main restroom facility for this section of the campground off to the right there. Passing site 47 to the left. 49 to the left. And if you notice, the sites in this loop do not have electric. There's 52 to the left, 53 to the right, and 54 to the left. There's another dumpster for trash. And we're going to head back towards the main road, because that's a look at the Riverview campground. We're going to head towards Paint Rock Springs campground next. The road down to the left goes to the canoe landing. And we've made it back onto the main campground road. So we're heading back towards the St. Croix Lodge. And so here's the map we're going to follow. We're going to follow the path with the red arrows heading into the Paint Rock Springs campground. So here's one last look at Riverview campground off to the right. Again, dumpster for trash to the left. And then up on the left here is the lodge. You can see all the parking for the lodge. Here is the exit to the campground if you were to hang right. And so before we head into Paint Rock Springs, I want to stop by the campground store so you can see that. So we're going to head right into here. And this is just a little loop with a parking area for the campground store. You can pick up ice in here. You can pick up firewood. I never actually made it over to the store when it was open, so I didn't get a chance to see it. But as you can see, plenty of parking. I'm sure they have snacks and food and necessities, fire starters, lighters, probably sticks for s'mores. You know, the normal stuff that you would see in a campground store. There's one of the pit toilets, the outhouses that are around this campground. There's a water spigot there. I guess you could use this a little bit too for overflow parking if you have more cars than is room for on your site. And so now we're heading back to the main road where we will head into Paint Rock Springs campground. So we're going to head right. And it won't be long before we are in Paint Rock Springs campground. So we'll hang a right, and the first loop we're going to do is sites 60 to 78. So that should be site 60 off to the left. And none of the sites in this loop have electric hookup. There's also no sewer hookup in any of the sites, and there's no water hookup in any of the sites. There are water spigots scattered around for your use. There's site 63 to the left there. F to the right there is the camp store. So if you're on this loop, you're really close to the camp store if you need to run and get anything. I like this site off to the right here. That's site 64. It's kind of off by itself. Nice private site. That's site 65 to the left. '67 to the left. So again, you can see this campground is pretty open as well. but there are some vegetation to block sight lines, so it feels a little more private maybe than Riverview Campground, but it's still pretty open. Passing site 75 to the left there, and then these last two are 77 and 78. Dumpster for trash. Gonna head right and take on the next loop, which should be 79 to 104. There's an outhouse right there, which is weird that it's right next to the big restroom. I'm guessing that they closed the big restroom in the winter, but the outhouses are still open, so that's why that's there. Just past site 80 to the right. There's a little more trees in here, a little more vegetation. That's site 85 to the left. And then we're passing our site to the right there. You can see the cargo camper through the trees. That's 89 across the way. Site 90 to the right as we come around the loop. Site 92. So you can see they have fire pits with grow grates in these sites. 94, 95. Site 96 to the left. Picnic tables in all the sites. And there you can see the restroom again. And I think that last site is 104. We're going to hang a right. We're going to do the next loop, which is a lollipop. And this will be 105 to 126. So as we head in here, some of these sites have electrical and some do not. So you need to pay attention when you're booking to make sure if you need an electric site that you get one. That's site 108 to the left there. Site 110 to the left. 111 to the right. $112 to the left, $113 to the right. A lot of these sites are not very deep. So if you have a long RV or a long travel trailer, you're going to want to make sure that you have enough space. All right, so here is the top end of the lollipop. That's site 116 off to the right. 117 off to the right. 119 inside the loop. $121 to the right. $123 to the left. And that should be, I think, $125 to the right. Yep. There's another outhouse over there. And the last one is $126 to the left where those trucks are. All right, so now that we've completed the sucker part of the lollipop, we're going to head out of Paint Rock Springs and head into Old Logging Trail Campground, following that path with the red arrows. There's the water spigot again. So as you can see, this campsite is a mixture. Some is pretty wooded and pretty shaded, and others are not very shaded at all. Almost full sun. All right, we're gonna take a right and then go down this main campground road to the old logging trail campground. And this campground has quite a few loops. And the only electric sites as of the making of this video in the old logging trail campground, I think, are in the beginning part of this campground. So we're going to dive into the first loop, and that'll take us from site 127 to 152. So there's 127 off to the right, 128 to the left. And to me, it just really felt like these sites were best suited for camper vans, maybe pop-ups, tent campers, that kind of thing. These are pretty tight, pretty small sites. 132 off to the left there, another water spigot. $134 to the left. $136 to the left. That'd be $137 to the right. And all the sites on the right side of this loop have electric, as far as I'm pretty sure that's the case anyway. That's site 141. Of course, depending on when you're watching this, if it's several years after this video has been released, it's possible that the state parks will do, campground improvements and upgrades, and so that information might be out of date. It's always best to check your reservation websites. We're passing the main restroom shower facility on the right there. It's always best to check the reservation website at the time you're making the reservation to know what sites have the amenities that you need. 145 to the left there. But as you can see, this is really a campground that is really best suited to tents and really small camping units. I really like this section of the campground. There's another water spigot. Passing site 150 to the left. All right, and we are back on the main road, heading to the next loop. So this next loop will be sites 153 to 179. And so the sites on the right will have electric. That's 154 to the left. And this will be the remaining sites that have electric in this campground as of the making of this video. $157, $158 to the left there, another water spigot. $159. Here's the main restroom facility. Looks like a very new restroom facility, really nice. 161, I think that said, to the left. 163 to the right. And 164. I'm sorry, that was 163 to the left. 164 to the right. That'll be the last site with electric. 165 to the left. And as you can see, vegetation definitely blocks sight lines in this campground. So you can see that you really get a sense of privacy on your site. So this is awesome if you want a more wooded feel. I think that was an outhouse to the right there. 173 to the left, another water spigot. 175 to the left. 177 to the left. And we're almost out of this loop. We'll hang a right. We'll head to the next loop, which will be sites 180 to 201. And so none of these sites have electric. $183 to the left. $184 to the left. $187 to the right. $188 to the left. $190 to the right. That should be $191 to the right. So as you can see, you can get a pop-up or a small camper trailer in here, or a small RV or a van. $192 to the left. But this is definitely not for big rigs, at least most of these sites. $194 to the left. $197 to the right. $198 to the left. And you can see even some of these sites are a little more open. That was $201 to the right. There's a dumpster for trash across the street. And we're going to hit the last loop in the campground. So this last loop will cover sites 202 to 217. So we'll head right, and this is a true loop. So that's site 202 to the right. There's a water spigot. 204 to the right, 203 to the left. Nice open site on the left there if you need a little more space. That's 205. $207 to the left, 208 to the right, another water spigot. 210 to the right, 209 to the left. And we're coming on the last sites here. That should be 211 to the right, 212 to the left. $213 to the right, $214 to the left, $215, $216. And now we're going to head out of the campground and to the dump station, following the path with the red arrows. So as we head out, there's 217, which is the last site in this campground. And we're back on the main road, heading towards the exit. So you can see this campground is quite large, and it's very unique in that it has different sections with different feels. So obviously, depending on what you're looking for and what your needs are, you can choose one set or the other. The old logging trail campground was open when we were there, but the restroom facility was under some maintenance. So it wasn't a very busy section of the campground because they didn't have access to a restroom. They would have to travel a great distance to get to the Paint Rock Springs campground restroom. But that doesn't stop a lot of people. Off to the right there is a nice walking path. And then you can take a trail down to the River's Edge Trail and walk along the river. Plenty of dumpsters for trash in this campground, so there's no excuse to leave your trash at your site. It's always good to take care of your trash, not attract animals and that kind of thing. The campground was very well maintained when we were here. We really enjoyed our stay. The restrooms were always clean. Both park staff and the camp hosts, I think, did an excellent job. I've definitely stayed in places where either park staff or camp hosts were not so great. So this was really good. As you can see, these roads are pretty narrow. So especially if you're in an RV or pulling a travel trailer, just be courteous on the road. Off to the left there is the Paint Rock Springs campground restroom. And so we're almost to the exit. So we're passing the entrance to the Paint Rock Springs campground. Off to the left there in the distance is the campground store. And then up on the right is the lodge and visitor center. And instead of keeping straight and heading to the Riverview Campground or the canoe launch, we're going to take a left, which is the exit to the campground. This is a divided road, so each side is one way. Off to the right here is the dump station, but since there's people in there, I'm not going to drive in it. I'm just going to point the camera at it so you can see it, and then weave on out. And that is a driving tour of St. Croix State Park Campground. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that review of the campground at St. Croix State Park. We had a blast here. It was a very, very short camping trip, just one full day, 2 nights. We camped with all of Barb's family, so we had a good time. I didn't make a video on that, just kind of took the time off, kind of took some vacation, but I wanted to at least shoot a campground review for you guys. And then check out our Instagram, guys, because I took some photos of some amazing brownies I made in the Omnia oven, as well as some muffin rings and a few shots of the river and that kind of stuff. So check that out. But guys, it is time for me to call it. I've got the camper hooked up and we're ready to hit the road. And got a whole lot more content coming from Minnesota, so super excited about that. So stay tuned. We got some fishing videos and who knows what else on our 2025 summer trip. Having a blast up here in the North Woods, trying to beat the heat. It's warm today. It's like in the 80s, but at least it's not a heat index of over 100 like it is at home in Tampa. So if you haven't yet, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe, and ring that little bell icon that notifies you when we release new videos, because we do campground reviews everywhere we camp to make it easier for you to figure out where you want to go camping and what kind of campground you want to stay in. If you have any questions about St. Croix State Park, drop some in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Or you can connect with us on our other social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. Or you can connect with us at our website at campoutside.com. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you outside.